host of the Questioning with Gary podcast, Gary McGee.
That's right, this is the Questioning with Gary podcast. I'm Gary McGee, and today I'm joined by musician Mac Seigel. Mac, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am doing well. All right, so looks like you are part of a band called Pluto Rest in Peace, right?
I am indeed.
All right, so I want to know, how you got into that. Did you know these people in the band before, or?
No, I am a student at what's called the Academy of Contemporary Music in Oklahoma City. I was looking for people to play with. They had a poster up. They were looking for a guitar player and a singer, and I said, hey, I can do both those things. So we got together. We spent about 6 months practicing, writing songs, and then we started playing shows about 2 months ago. And, yeah, that's where we are.
That sounds pretty good. So I listened to the song Colorblind.
Yeah.
So how'd that get recorded? How did that song specifically come about?
So that song I wrote a few months before we got together. I was part of this group on Facebook about discussions on mental health and whatnot, and they had a kind of creative day. People make art on the subject of mental health, and that's kind of what that song's about. It's a little, it's kind of subtext. But so I wrote that before we got together because mental health and discussions about that is something very, very dear to me. And when we got together, does anybody have any songs? And I was the first thing I had. So it was the first song we played and that we have recorded. And yeah, that's where that came from.
That's pretty cool. So you play live?
We do. We play shows around the OKC Metro. We recently managed to make it down to Houston for a show. So we're branching out a little bit.
That's cool. Okay, so, and you also, let's see, it looks like you play bass as well, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. I play bass in another band called Dr. Pants. It's a nerd rock outfit. One of my professors at ACM recruited me to play bass for him. And same thing, we've got a show this weekend, actually.
So, nerd rock outfit, what does that even mean, nerd rock outfit?
So the content of the songs are very, he's got a little EP you can find on his website, drpants.com, called, I don't even remember what the EP is called, but it's got a couple songs about Doctor Who on there, Bigger on the Inside and the Screwdriver is Sonic. Fictional characters show up in his music a lot. He's got another song about the butterfly effect, not the movie, but the actual concept. Mm-hmm. And it's all very fun and upbeat. And so yeah, super nerdy.
So what do you do with that? Do you write songs for that, or do you just play bass, or?
Yeah, I am a hired gun, but it's super fun to be on that end of things too, because in Pluto, we all write together, but for the most part, I'm the primary songwriter, so a lot of creative energy and a lot of effort and thought goes into that band and those songs, and we do all of our own promotion and whatnot. Dr. Pants is super fun because, like I said, I just play bass, so I really like everyone I play with, but I don't have to write anything. I don't have to book any shows. I just show up and play bass, and I really enjoy having that kind of experience as well.
Right. So with Dr. Pants, it sounds like, is that kind of like a novelty type of music?
A lot of it is, and it's actually our frontman. His name is David Broyles, but he actually just goes by Dr. Pants a lot of times. He gets a little frustrated because a lot of the music is that, and that's mostly what we're known for. But he also writes a lot of songs that are about, being politically conscious and, about he's got songs about just his life and songs about music and what it means to him, things that are a little bit more deep and serious. And we're not so much known for those, but lately what we're mostly doing is acoustic gigs, which gives us a lot more room to play some of the more serious songs and a little bit less of the songs about donuts.
So what instruments can you play? So you can play bass, you can play guitar, both of those, is that correct?
I play both of those. I also sing. I can fake my way through a little piano or banjo if I need to. But the other half of my creative life is more in production. I do a lot of recording for other people and mixing, all that fun stuff.
Right. So I was talking to someone last week, a couple weeks ago, who's also a musician. His name's Kai Denonato. He is also he likes a lot of the production stuff. He's also a musician, but he specifically is going to go to the production stuff. Do you think that's kind of what you like to do mostly? Because you're a student of music production, is that correct?
I am. I'm a part-time student, and I kind of do some freelance work outside of that. But, I'm not sure. When I first went to ACM, I was going to go as a guitar performance major. But I kind of last minute as I was applying was like, I already know how to do that. I can always get better, and I have gotten better, but I'd kind of like to, if I'm going to spend all this time, effort, and energy going to college, I'd like to develop a whole new skill set. And so kind of on a whim, I enrolled for the music production program thinking that, well, I'll eventually be able to get into a band, and then I'll be able to produce all of our stuff and not have to pay a producer and keep some of that creative control and all that stuff. But then I actually really fell in love with that side of things, and I started thinking, oh, well, maybe I'd like to actually do this for a career. And also I like the idea of actually having a job someday. Yeah. And I thought the production would open that up. Turns out it's not a whole lot easier to get a job as a producer than it is as a musician. And then this band kind of sprung up out of nowhere, and now I'm kind of back to plan A. But, it's all just, everyone I know who's a professional in the music industry does a lot of different stuff. They produce and they mix and they play and they teach and they do all of this stuff. So I'm trying to just develop every different skill set that I can possibly get my hands on. And hopefully, if I know how to do 50,000 things, one of them will pay me some income one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way a lot of the creative industries are going. You got to be kind of a jack of all trades. I was talking to someone who does a lot of film work, filmmaking type stuff, and they're saying the same thing. Where you used to not too many people are just actors nowadays. No one is just acting. Everyone, you got to be hustling all the time. You got to be doing all the different stuff. I think it's a lot of it is with the new emergence of online, social media, YouTube, that type of stuff. How do you think how do you think that has affected you? Because, a long time ago, musicians, they have to rely solely on word of mouth, maybe playing some live shows, but now you can put some of your music up online. So how do you think that's affected you personally?
Well, it comes from both ends. You had to do it just word of mouth and just playing shows until a major label picked you up, and then that was your ticket. You could make, the sky's the limit on how much money you could make and what you could do. But now we've got pirating and YouTube and Spotify and all of these things that people are doing to listen to music besides buying records that don't make a whole lot of money for anybody. So the major labels are struggling and they're dying out, and everyone can get their music heard. So in theory, it's starting to create this kind of musical middle class. And so these huge major labels aren't making a lot of money, so they're not hiring someone full-time to be a producer, and they're not giving a lot of people record deals. So you're not going to make a whole massive amount of money from one source. So every single person is having to diversify. And so that's what, like, my mentors and my teachers at ACM, that's what they're always pushing at us, is diversify your skill set. And so, yeah, I have to kind of embody that as much as I can. And that word that you used, hustle, is a big thing. You just have to hit the pavement all the time and just constantly be keeping your eyes open for any contact you can make, any job that you can sniff out. So it makes it a lot more, maybe more of a struggle, but you're also in charge of your own destiny a lot more than you might have been 20 or 30 years ago. So.
What do you feel about it? Because I feel like the general consensus among most, especially, because most musicians are independent, they're just doing their own thing, just either having fun, maybe want some people to hear it. Most people they like the new way of doing things because, like you said before, you had to get picked up by a label really for anything to happen. Now you could just put your song out there online and people can hear it. Do you think that's a better thing, or what do you feel about that?
It depends a lot. I think it depends on, when you say musician, whether you mean that as just a person who plays music or whether you mean that as an occupation.
I'm talking mostly about a person who plays music, because as an occupation, that's going to be pretty pigeonholed into a lot of specific people. But since there are a lot of people out there who do it, just either for fun, you just want people to hear it. I think that's what most people are doing nowadays, which I think is what's brought in from a lot of the internet stuff, is that people in these creative businesses can do that when previously they couldn't.
Yeah, it depends. And again, if you want, it's great if that's all you want, is to be able to make music and then just have people hear it. It's super easy to make music that sounds pretty damn good, and just put it up somewhere. So it's a huge plus for that kind of just open creativity, and there's a lot of cool stuff that gets made that way. But if it's something that you want to do as an occupation, it's always kind of been the same. You got to work your butt off, and you got to work harder than everyone else who wants to do it if you want to make a living at it. But the problem is you have to really, you got to swim through a lot of other stuff that's those people that are just, they're into it and they just want to make something and put it up. You have to be better than all of those people and work harder than all of those people before anyone will even notice you, let alone pay you for anything. So, it's kind of give and take. I think it is a net positive for society and for the music industry that it's so easy for people to do that and so easy for people to hear things. It's really shaken up the industry and the world. No one really knows how to handle it. No one really knows how to build a career and make money in this new environment, which I think can be a big opportunity if you can be the guy that figures that out in your own way before everyone else does.
All right, so first we're going to go ahead and take a break right now, and after that I want to talk to you about you personally, what you want out of your future in terms of making music.
All right, good.
So we'll just take a quick break and we'll be back right after this. Oh, hey everybody, Gary here. I just want to remind you to check out questioningwithgary.com. As you write on questioningwithgary.com, you'll find all the other podcasts, and you'll also find some social media info. Aside from that, you'll see all of our Questioning with Gary videos, including the time when I went to the Trump rally and interviewed some Trump supporters, or the time when I went to Comic-Con and interviewed some nerds. That's right, it's all on questioningwithgary.com, so just head on over. Alright, and we are back, and I'm here with Mac Seigel. So, Mac, I want to talk about a little bit, because we discussed before the break a little bit about the current state of music. I want to talk about what your plans are in terms of making music for the future. If it is something that you want to try and do professionally to make some money off of it, or if it's just kind of a creative outlet for you.
Oh, 100%. I want to be a professional at this. I wouldn't be. Man, it blows my mind how many people at ACM. ACM is attached to the University of Central Oklahoma. It's an actual college. It's an actual degree program. A lot of these kind of look more like trade schools, but it blows my mind how many people are going to spend the amount of money it takes to get a 2 or 4 year degree and invest that amount of their life when they really are never going to be more than hobbyists. No, it's way too much for that. And again, the reason I'm trying to do so many different things, I teach full time. That's how I make my money. Mm-hmm. I teach guitar and bass. I want this to be my whole life, and I want this to be my income. So I'm just always trying to hone and craft my songwriting skills and my production skills and everything like that, because I want to be better than everybody else if I can,
That's a good thing, That's drive that people need nowadays to get whatever they need. So I want to go back a little bit. I want to go back to your past, talk about so how did you get started playing with these instruments, guitar, bass? Was it self-taught? Was it because nowadays, there's a lot of people who just use YouTube and they can teach themselves. How about you personally? Did you have a teacher? How did you get into that?
So, I live in Oklahoma City now, but I grew up on this cattle ranch in the middle of nowhere, about 10 minutes south of the Kansas border. And I decided at some point that I wanted to play guitar. I decided at some point I wanted to play guitar. I was 12. And so my mom took me out to a pawn shop. I got this junky little acoustic, and I took like a month's worth of lessons. I decided I didn't like that. And so I quit for a couple of months, and then I kind of started to pick it up on my own. All of my friends have always been older than me for the most part. And it got to a point where most of my friends were starting to get driver's licenses, or they all lived in town. I lived out in the middle of nowhere. So I had a whole summer where I was just real bored. And so I started playing guitar, which has led me to the belief that for kids, being bored is important. That's how you find out what you want to do and what you're good at. Everyone wants to entertain their kids all the time, or it's kind of neither beside the point. But I started playing guitar. I'd only been playing about 6 months when the youth group at the church I had just started going to, their guitar player quit and started doing other stuff. And so they're like, "Hey, you play guitar, right?" And I'm like, kind of, just a little bit. And so I had to get real good real fast, or at least okay real fast. And so I did that all the way through high school. I started teaching guitar in high school. And then you heard the rest of the story. I heard about ACM. I was going to go for guitar, decided to go for production, and that's how I moved to Oklahoma City. And that's pretty much the story. I started singing in high school, but
yeah. So to what you said about that kids are bored nowadays. Do you think that with everyone constantly being entertained with the phone and everything, do you think that's a bad thing for these children growing up in the new generation? They're not going to be able to maybe find stuff like what you found with your love of music?
Absolutely. Again, like I said before, I think that this whole like digital revolution and all of the communication technology that I think it's all a good thing in general. People are more connected, but there are downsides that since it's such a new thing for the world and for society, we're still learning how to deal with. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest downsides that we're going to discover as the years go on. I read a study a few weeks ago. We're already starting to do that kids need to be bored, and they aren't. So they don't figure out what their passions are, because partially the cell phone thing. Also, it's just our culture. Parents want to get their kids involved in all the sports and all the music and all of the, extracurricular schooling and whatnot as they're growing up, because they want them to have opportunities. Mm-hmm. But if they don't ever have any amount of time where they have to sit and figure out what they want to do, what they really care about, then like, it doesn't matter if you're on the football team if you never really fall in love with it, and it doesn't matter if you take piano lessons if you never really fall in love with it. And so I think that's really important.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that's a lot of people, maybe they do something their whole life, but they don't, and then maybe they're good at it, but they don't like to do it because it's something maybe their parents made them do, so they come to resent doing that. And I think you're right in terms of that is kind of the way it's going. So do you think that moment where you got your first guitar, that really is what brought on to your drive for life right now, what your main motivation is for making music your career?
I think the thing that solidified that for me was not the getting the guitar, because again, I wasn't that into it right away. Right. And it took me a while. I think it was being on stage, which is weird. You'd think that's like a big extrovert thing. I'm actually a pretty big time introvert, but it's because I don't really get in front of people. I hate parties. Mm-hmm. But being on stage, the guitar kind of gives me it's almost like a shield. It's something I can project what I'm playing to people instead of me and who I am and my personality. So it gives me an opportunity to express myself and to communicate in a way that's kind of safer. And I've carried that over to now singing. I still feel like when I'm singing, it's not me so much as just my music and
right.
what I'm trying to say. So it gives me, an introvert, a chance to express myself in a way that's kind of safe and less personal in a way, mm-hmm. which really opened up kind of this whole area of my mind that I had never thought about, where I can say things and I can tell people my ideas and the way I feel about things. And so as soon as I discovered that, I was hooked. So yeah, I would say it was more the first few times that I got on stage rather than just having the guitar and playing it. I love the guitar, but it's more a means of expression that I'm comfortable with rather than I'm just super in love with this particular instrument.
Mm-hmm. I see. So you think it's kind of like an ego thing, like where if you think of it in terms of yourself, it's kind of hard to do. But when you take your music and you make it a vessel for any expressing yourself, like you said, that just makes it easier. And I guess just expressing that's what you fell in love with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I've always told people that, I could play. I've gotten better about this, but I used to tell people all the time I could play the Super Bowl halftime show. I could play guitar for the Super Bowl halftime show, and it would not bother me at all. If you asked me to sing in front of more than 5 people, I would freeze up and freak out, and then I eventually got more comfortable singing, and that became the same thing. It was less personal. It was a vessel for my expression, and I would say the same thing. But now I'm working on being able to talk in front of people. That's my new.
So you think it's more like a personal thing, like a person-to-person type thing? It's harder for you if it's just is it harder for you if it's just one person or two, if you're doing it directly to someone, if you like your music specifically, if you're performing that for one person, do you think that would be harder for you than a whole crowd?
It's interesting. Where I thought you were going with that question is whether or not I have a hard time talking. I'm really comfortable in one-on-one situations. Uh-huh. Just talking to one person, but actually you took it where I wasn't expecting you. Asking about music, you're kind of right. I have a hard time playing and singing for just one person, because it is so much more personal, and kind of the problem that I solve by playing guitar in front of a group of people or singing in front of a group of people, the fact that I can kind of hide what I think and what I feel within the music and then express it that way, I kind of have the opposite problem one-on-one, because usually when I'm playing someone for one person, it's something new, something that I haven't ever played for anyone before. And so it becomes actually the opposite. It becomes so much more personal because I'm exposing them to that creative process, which is, I would think, like the music that I play on stage is very external. And then a conversation with one person's kind of, it's personal, but it's surface level. The creative process to me is even deeper than that. It's deeper than just a personal conversation. And so, yeah, I do have a really hard time playing for just one person. I don't have a real hard time playing in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might be like that, where especially in the creative arts, where it's just sharing your idea, sharing what you came to the conclusion of with this art. Once you do it the first time, it's the hardest because you'll know how they'll react. But I think, yeah, in the way that is, I think a lot of people are like that. All right, so I just want to end this with talking to you just on a lighter, just how did you get, like, what did you listen to mostly when you were growing up, and what you listen to now, just of other musicians?
Yeah, so I had an older half brother who moved in with my family. It was right around the time I started playing guitar. I was 12, he was 14. And he gave me all of the CDs he didn't like that he bought. So all the bands that he did like Metallica and Green Day and Black Sabbath and all that stuff. But the records that he didn't like by them, I got all of those. And those became my favorite records. So, like, I had Reload by Metallica and American Idiot by Green Day, and I don't even remember, there was some, like, best of Black Sabbath record, and that's what I grew up on. And then my mom got me really into Rush and Pearl Jam. So that's all of the stuff that I was listening to while I was learning how to play guitar, while I was learning how to sing. And I'd like to think it kind of shows up in my music. As I've gotten older, right now I'm really into a band called Nothing More. There's a kind of like a progressive, almost like a metal band. They're not quite metal, but there's Nothing More. There's a singer-songwriter named Frank Turner that I'm super into.
I've heard of him. I've heard of some of his stuff, yeah.
Yeah, Kings of Leon is a big influence on me. There's some local bands that I'm starting to get really into. We play a lot of shows with Stone Tide, who kind of do like almost like a classic rock thing that I really like. And there's another band called Nick Knows that are from Oklahoma City.
Right.
NICNOS, and they're super, super cool. And I keep trying to write like them, but it's not working out for me. They're way better than I am, but yeah, so that's kind of what I'm into.
Yes. All right. Yeah, you can definitely tell that because listening to your song, it's like a kind of like a harder rock kind of, maybe, yeah, like progressive rock, like you said, I think is how you describe it. All right. So thanks a lot, and it was a lot of fun talking to you. Really interesting. So yeah, if you want to listen to the influences in the music, go ahead and check out the band Pluto Rest in Peace. Do you have any songs online that you can get to?
We have a demo for that first song that we talked about, Colorblind. It's on Bandcamp. We're going to be recording an EP here in the next few months. So yeah, we're on Bandcamp, PlutoRIP.bandcamp.com.
And all right, so once again, that was Mac Seigel, musician, and thanks a lot, Mac.
Hey, thank you.
All right.
Had fun.
Awesome. So from Mac Seigel, this is Gary McGee saying good day, good night, goodbye.